Thank you, Marty. Avi Meyers, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hirsch and myself. Dial us up on the web at www.ntnm.org. About 200,000 of you have watched shows on YouTube, and you can find all the links over there on ntnm.org. If you want to check out YouTube, it's Sonny HTV, or just start typing in the name of whoever you like, and you're likely to find it. We're real big on community policing, and we hope you all participated in National Night Out. Sonny Hirsch, in his spare time, is chairman of the District Advisory Committee of the 24th District. In the 24th District, the community policing meetings for the 10 sector take place on the second Thursdays at 6 and 7 o'clock. There are schedule changes going on right now, so please be aware of it. The 30 sector meets on the third Thursday, and the 20 sector meets on the fourth Thursday. And I want to say a special hi to Sergeant Christian, who's doing a great job. And at this point, hopefully, we've got a new commander, and we want to sad farewell to Commander Wick, who was really great to work with, and we wish you all the best of luck in your retirement. Not to mention, we lost Bruce Ratner also. And boy, like the old crowd when we first started, their mandatory age retirement is 63 for people in higher up positions. We need to keep them on the force longer. It is a pleasure to have one of the people that I don't think you've ever seen on the show, but somebody who's supplied me with a ton of guests. One of the most interesting characters you'll ever want to meet is PR man par excellence, Ed McElroy. Ed, how you doing?
Shalom, thank you.
My pleasure. And what brings you here today, other than a car?
Well, besides coming in the car, Avi Meyers, very fine man on television, invited me to come on his show, so I'm looking forward to meeting Avi.
That sounds good. I'd like to meet him myself.
Yeah, very good, very good. And we've been around a long time, Avi.
No, that's for sure. And it's funny because one of the first times you were here, there was the guy who edits my paper is your age, exactly.
See that old?
Yeah, and he was talking about what a thrill it was to meet somebody his own age. And you guys were both White Sox fans, so you could discuss the old days.
That's right. Very much. I actually down at White Sox Park I think I was about 1935 or 36. My uncles took me to a ball game, and I was sitting there just a few nights ago with my wife and a couple of friends of ours, and thinking of all the years that I have down at ballpark, from doing that to, being a bullpen catcher down there and things like that. And then
bullpen catcher, that's pretty impressive.
It was very nice, It was, at that time, Jimmy Dykes was our manager, and we had Mule Haas was coach at third base, Bing Miller was coaching over at first, and we had a lot of good ball players at the time. And then later to find myself breaking in there with Bob Elson in 1946 after I came back from service. I wasn't in the best physical shape when I came back. So, at the age of 21 then, you wonder what you're going to do. You got to go out and make a living. And I had a chance to go with Lou Fonseca. Lou did the baseball movie at that time. He did the World Series every year. Then he did a movie maybe on hitting or fielding and things like that. But I didn't want to work in an office. And then they offered me a job in the White Sox front office. Mr. McMahon did. And but then Bob Elson, in the Hall of Fame as a sportscaster, offered me a job to work with him, and I wanted to be that because I wanted to be outside and running around the ballpark. And so actually work-wise, I've been around White Sox Park, you might say, most all my life.
Wow. My brother's a season ticket holder. I wish he was here right now, so he'd enjoy it a lot.
I wish he was here because I'd ask him for some tickets for the Yankee game.
I want to tell you, to go back to my youth, I think the loudest crack of the bat I ever heard was, I want to say it was around, 1961 maybe. And Mickey Mantle, I saw him actually hit a ball into center field once, but he hit a ball, and it was just a pop-up straight up. I was a little kid then, but I don't think I ever saw a ball ever go higher in my life, and the crack was unbelievable. But basically, it either was Camilo Carrion or Sherm Lawler just stepped in front of the plate.
Sherm Lawler was a very fine man. He died several years ago. He lived down there near the Mickey on Baseball School down in Missouri. But I knew Mickey Mantle to the best I possibly could. Mickey was very unfriendly. He would hardly talk to you at all in the clubhouse. He was just very different. Where you never really got to know him, and he wouldn't come to a veteran hospital or Lara Beat or the Kennedy School or things like that.
I used to recruit players to go visit the kids over there.
Yeah, I did, and like Bob Reed Richardson played second base. He'd go anywhere you wanted. Bob Turley was a pitcher. Moose Scourin, he'd go anywhere you wanted and things like that. But a friend of mine too was Ted Williams with the Boston Red Sox. Ted had a very different personality, but he would go anywhere I wanted him to. And at that time, I was breaking into radio in WGO. I was with Bob Elson for the season of 46, and I went out to WGO, in Hammond, Indiana, for doing sports for 3 years. And Ted Williams would always come out with me when he was here in November, but he'd come out with me maybe 3 of the 5 nights, but I'd only have him on once because he didn't want me to use him. And he might be sitting right there, and if I said something about Ted Williams, he'd sit back in the chair and say something possibly. but he would come out there with me, and Ted always told me in baseball, he said, you know, that pitcher, he has to get that ball over that 16.5 inches 3 times. I only want 1. But Ted was different, very, very, very different. I remember he was having his second baby. I said, are you going down to be there? And he says, I'm not a doctor, and that sounded pretty funny to me. But Ted was a good guy. Another great guy too was Gil Hodges. I went to school down at St. Joseph's in Rensselaer, Indiana. I was in the
Bears used to train there.
That's exactly right, and that's when George Halas was there, and Charlie Halleck was the congressman there, and he was one of the ones that had something to do with the Bears coming down to St. Joseph's. But when I was at St. Joe, and then they had the college team, and when there were non-college games, Gil Hodges was playing third base, and I would catch for the college team. If it was a league game, then I couldn't do it, and Gil Hodges' brother, Charlie, was the left-handed pitcher, and left-handers are always a little different. They're not ordinary people relative to throwing the ball. They work you all over and things like that.
I think that's why I get along with them.
That's very possible. That's very possible. But Charlie was very different. But then Gil, you could not have met a nicer man than Gil Hodges. And he came back after the, I think, World Series that year, and he wanted to go back to St. Joe and do some more schooling. And the priest thinking at that time was, he wasn't here when he should have been here. So he never liked St. Joe too much after that. But our coach was Dick Scharf, and anytime when Gil Hodges was here in town, Coach Scharf would come in, and we'd always have dinner with Gil Hodges. And Gil was just a tremendous person. He became manager, and I was covering when they were in the World Series, I think maybe in '69, I'm not sure. I was staying up there at the Concord Hotel, one of your places. Up in
that was, yeah. By the way, 69 was the year the Sox played. No, 69. I'm sorry.
I'm not sure. I'm not positive, but
Yeah.
Gil was manager then of the Mets, and not being a big guy in radio.
The Mets were in '69.
Yeah, not being a big.
That's the year the Cubs collapsed.
That's right. Oh, they've done that several times. But I wasn't, one of the big guys on radio and TV. But Gil would let me in the clubhouse all the time. He put me in the training room. And I'd always get McNally or Seaver, those guys, and
Nice.
get them on the air and things like that to our stations around the country. And I never need baseballs or things like that. Gil was always very nice to me. And then I was out to training camp. I go to training camps quite a bit, and I was out there, and our grandson wanted to see Tiny Tim. I don't know if you remember Tiny Tim, but it was the last.
Tiptoe through the tulips.
That's the last person that I really wanted to see. And so we were in Vegas from the baseball camp of the Sox to Vegas, and I took my son there to see him. And I came back that night. My wife says, "I have bad news for you." I said, "In sports or government?" She says, "Sports." I says, "Gil Hodges." And she said, "Did Dad talk to someone?" No. I knew he hadn't been too well, and he smoked something terrible. And Yogi Berra, another character, was one of his coaches, and Yogi says, "Get your friend to quit smoking." I just knew it was Gil, but he came out of New York and Kings County, Brooklyn.
Yeah, I never met Yogi Berra, but I remember some of his quotes. It was really funny stuff.
He was unbelievable, and he thought he was someone. He was with some of the women, this and that, and he was as ugly as sin. But he thought he won the beauty contest. But he'd go anywhere with me too. He'd go out to the hospital and things like that.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your PR stuff. Just tell people what you do now.
I do quite a few things, thank God. Being on radio and being on TV too is something I never thought would happen in my life. There's 2 things in life I wanted to be: was a ball player or a priest. I never really made each one of them, but I'm a Eucharistic minister at my church now, which I enjoy very much. But I never thought of getting into public relations, but I started to get into it with the community papers, like up here, the Lerner papers. My friend Lou Lerner and other great guys, Leo Lerner and things, were just absolutely, wonderful to me. And then by this, well, I was around radio for quite a fact. I was at JHAD for 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I spun records for 10 years, and I did news and sports and then got into PR near the end in about 1986. And I got into PR, and then it got bigger than I anticipated. And I've had the pleasure of working with a lot of wonderful people here in Chicago. I've had a lot of the judicial campaigns and the Water Reclamation District, the Fraternal Order of Police, and other groups. And I work mainly with the community papers. The community papers, to me, are the foundation of this great city of ours. In the same way with the community papers out in the northern and south suburbs. And I've been very police-minded all my life. When I got married, the police commissioner, Tim O'Connor, was my best man.
Oh, nice.
And I remember my wife said, well, who's going to be your best man? I says, Commissioner O'Connor. She said, well, he's an old man. I said, he's my best friend. Another gentleman by the name of Frankie Pape. Frankie was quite a historic policeman here in Chicago.
Yeah.
He killed 9 and wounded 12 and maybe dumped about 6 in the sewer. but they were all bad guys. They were all stick-up guys and rape guys and things like that. So I've been around the police department all my life, and we have a big event coming up in September, I think around the 13th of September, that I'm very concerned about. Our former police superintendent, Phil Klein, beautiful guy, real good policeman too, really a street guy. He, a lot of times, like Jimmy O'Grady, who comes up from the north side, and Jimmy I knew a long time, and his wife Pat, who's a nurse. But I can't believe my life has been so wonderful, so occupied. I've had good health since I got out of service.
Thank God.
Very much so, pretty much. And I just celebrated a birthday, a couple of weeks ago. And
Mazel tov, as they say in Irish.
Shalom. We say in Jewish too. But it's been, and I've enjoyed doing public relations, especially with the community papers. And Ron Roenick has a paper up here in the north side, Inside Publications, we work with and play golf with. And Hubert Massey years ago had the Leader and Post papers. He's gone. Arnie Matanke, he had Near North News. Art Patek. These are all great guys, but they're gone to their reward. But they're ones that I work with and maybe played with a little too.
Right. Well, sounds like good to me. You want to give people your information? If people like to talk to you, contact you, hear more stories, or check you out, whatever else?
No, I really don't.
So we won't.
No, because I was a speaker, and I enjoy going out, believe me, I do.
Yeah.
And I have my own TV shows in Chicago, as you know.
Yeah, you do.
But I went out recently to a place, and I was the speaker, and I walked in, and I said, there's only 4 people here. But then we had to go up and get our food. There was 6, so there were 10 people there.
Yeah.
And the person that was introduced me didn't speak to me the whole time I was there. But because I get out to a lot of these organizations, and I love to do it, but these organizations do not have the following that they used to have.
No, as if it's a problem. But you know what? Speaking of problems, I want to leave room for the other guests on the show, too.
Oh, you do?
So, you don't mind.
I suppose.
But I want to thank you very much, Ed McElroy. By the way, I want you to come back and tell us more stories.
Thank you kindly. God bless.
Anyway, thank you very much, and stay tuned for segment 2.
Thank you.